You chatting to Cody there, is it? Paul, how do you reflect on the year that was? Getting all the way to an All Ireland, sorry, Leinster final and All Ireland final just didn't quite happen.
Yeah, I suppose just off the pace on the day really. We had great Leinster final against Wexford. It was a tough day, and when they got the break that day, they really just punished us. I suppose no more different than the All Ireland final when Tipperary got their break as well. They just really used it very well, and it's great to get that you're competing at these levels. But when you're not coming away with trophies, it's disappointing. So there is positives, of course, from this year. But again, at the end of the day, when you're not winning an All Ireland final, there's always going to be the one big disappointment, which is just losing it.
You know the way like people would have been saying through the year, if Kilkenny win this All Ireland, it'll be Brian Cody's greatest achievement. I'm sure you never felt it was like that you thought you had the players to do it anyway.
Yeah, of course. We would always make that argument that any year I've been involved, that we've had the players to win All Ireland. Whether that was the case or not in the end, that we worked out that way is a different story. But we would have always felt that we could have won the All Ireland this year. Again, a lot of people mightn't have felt that at the start of the year, but as it went on, I think we showed that the hurling certainly was there, and it was just a matter of that, just getting that little click on the day. And maybe against Cork we got the wheels in motion, and certainly against Limerick, we showed what we were capable of. We've always felt though that we could have won the All Ireland this year. Whether it was Brian's greatest achievement or not, I suppose that's more so for spectators and journalists to decide. It's not something players really think of, that would it be the greatest one. Players were more concerned about, look, win this All Ireland and it'll be unbelievable. That's really all we were looking at. So I suppose it's up to other people to decide if it could have been Brian's greatest achievement.
Because every game is different, of course, but Tipperary got hammered by Limerick. You go and beat Limerick, therefore people think it's going to be very, very close. And obviously the red card changed an awful lot of that game, but it just seemed like a wild scoreline to lose by 14 points.
Yeah, of course, but Tipperary have shown when they're playing 15 on 15 that they're capable of blowing teams off the pitch. A red card, I suppose, red cards usually come a bit later in the game, but when this came just before half time, it's great for a team to be able to go in at half time to assess the situation, say, okay, we're now a man up, how do we want to use that? And probably no better team than Tipperary to do that. They use it very well at the back. They always use a spare man very well at the back, and I suppose more importantly, they were able to convert that onto the scoreboard. So look, whether the bet is by 1 or 14, it's really the same feeling. But they just showed that, look, if you gave them any sort of an angle, they were going to punish, and they really did in the day.
Do you think he can bounce back next year? Because some people would say Richie Hogan's getting a year older. TJ Reid is turning, I think it's 32. I suppose you're turning 30 now or something like that. Something like that. So that people would say that it might be tougher now because some of those star players are getting a little bit older.
Look, I think that's always a question hanging over every team. But you look at this year, like most of the star performers, John Donnelly, Adrian Mullen, Hugh Lawler, Paddy Deegan, all these fellas, they're early 20s, and I think even one of them's 19. So you can say, of course, yeah, TJ Reid's getting older. Probably have never seen him fitter. Richie Hogan, had the back trouble last year, but seems to be getting himself right again. You're always going to have players at the other end of their career, but thankfully, I suppose, coming in the door at the other side, we have players coming through. The under-20s did very well this year, I suppose, beaten by a better Cork team on the day, but you saw that there was players on that panel that, 2 or 3 of them come into the senior setup and could be all the difference. So every team is going to have players at the wrong end of their career. Tipperary have them, Limerick have them, whoever it is has them. But it's a matter of, we have players coming in the other door, how does that mix together? And if we got one more year out of Richie, and I won't even say TJ, because TJ thinks he has 10 more years left, but you're only concentrating on the following year. Richie, I think, is coming back good, and look, whatever panel you have each year, it doesn't really matter if they can last for another 2 or 3, really.
On the day of the All-Ireland, news kind of broke that Adrian Mullen had been sick or ill or whatever. Is this something that you're aware of, all the talk throughout the country, that, this doubt over Adrian Mullen?
No, we were aware of stuff like that, because people will just text you and ask you, as if it's their place to text you on All-Ireland final day and ask you. But generally, look, any player with common sense will turn off their phone. But afterwards, you obviously had messages on your phone, people asking this. And all that is rumours of an All-Ireland final day. I think any All-Ireland final, be it football, hurling, anything you've gone to, there's always the rumour the morning of it that this fella's starting or that fella isn't starting, or there's been a bust up in the dressing room, things like this. The one for this year was, I remember hearing that afterwards, was ridiculous. There was nothing of the sort that was after happening. I think Adrian had the flu about a week before. It wasn't even a flu, small bit of a bug. The chaps about to play an All-Ireland final, okay, don't train today, and that's really all it was. But somehow that carried over into the following week, and he was in hospital and everything, so my bit of advice for anyone going to an All-Ireland final, if you hear a rumour, leave it in the pub and don't worry about it. It's an All-Ireland final rumour, and that's all it is.
Would he have known that there was a rumour going around? Would it have bothered him?
I'm sure he would have. Knowing Adrian, it wouldn't bother him. He's actually has a great head in him. He's very cool, very calm. I think which shown in a lot of the matches, regardless of not learning semi-final or final. He's shown how calm he is, and
He's good on Twitter as well.
he's very good on Twitter. Yeah. Darren as well is very good. So if you want to follow him, it's a recommendation. But no, the lads are great. And look, I think it was obviously Adrian's first All-Ireland final, but he knew he was fit and healthy. And people again were probably texting him and asking him, even though they shouldn't be. People were probably texting and asking him, but he knew, no, look, I'm fit and healthy. So just because other people think I'm not is a bit ridiculous. But he dealt with it very well because look, he's a great fella anyway. So I'm sure it didn't faze him.
You're heading off on a tour with the army again. Where are you going?
Going to Lebanon again. So this is the second time in Lebanon.
Okay, how long are you heading off for?
6 months again, yeah. So 6 months.
It'll go down well with Brian Cody.
Brian's very understanding. I'm not the first fella to head away in an army tour. So Owen Larkin went away to Kosovo in 2008 or 2007, 2008, and he came back and won Hurler of the Year. So that's what we have to aim for when you go back from overseas, is Hurler of the Year.
So that's the plan. What's an average day like for you out there?
I suppose it depends on your job. The last time I was out there, I was an APC commander, so I was with the armoured cars. So we go on patrol every day. It could be one day you could be on 4 patrols a day. You're driving around the area. You're going over to the blue line with Israel and Lebanon. You're patrolling within towns and so on. That's basically a lot of my time. The following day you could be resting from duty, so you actually have a bit of downtime, bit of time to rest up, go get a bit of training done, whatever it is. And then on the weekends, you have a Sunday off. We used to organise hurling training for a Sunday, and everyone from the priest with the unit up to the battalion commander, you just go down and play a bit of hurling regardless what level you were at. So depending on my day this time will be very much in an office. I'll be dealing with operations this time, won't be going patrolling. So my job compared to the fellas beside me could be something completely different, but this time it'll be a lot more office based again, probably a bit more structured again, but I'll be out and about patrolling the odd time really.
So when you say you're planning these sort of organisations, is it kind of up to you in some way that there's something happening over here where you might be putting people in dangers or in the way of danger, that you're kind of planning these situations and know that there is trouble for certain people?
Yeah, you're really just monitoring what's going on in your area of operations at the time, and certain times of the year you're trying to, I suppose, keep in tune with what's happening within your AO, religiously, also culturally. There's lots of different aspects going on at the moment in Lebanon. There's big protests at the moment, more so aimed at government level. So you have to keep your eye on what's going on there. Do we send a patrol through this town on such a day? Might be a small bit sensitive, so you hold back. These are basically decisions that are brought up. Again, you're monitoring just activities. Is there maybe people walking too close to the blue line, which is the border? Is there a bit of trouble in a certain town? These are things you're just constantly ticking over, watching, and just trying to monitor what way our patrols operate. And that's really, I suppose, in layman's terms, what we're trying to do.
Is it mentally hard, when you're over there you're there for 6 months? Is that hard to deal with, or obviously you were there before, so?
No, it's again. I was speaking for myself. Really, I haven't found it tough. I actually quite enjoy it going over there. I really enjoy my job, and overseas is probably the pinnacle of that. So I enjoy the work and what we're doing. Of course, it's tough being away from your family and stuff. And for different people, again, I don't have kids, and people with kids will obviously find that small bit more tough. Being away for Christmas can be tough because our trip is obviously going to be away for Christmas. But when I get out there, I really enjoy my training out there and getting the strength and conditioning stuff beyond me the whole time. You're constantly tipping away. I enjoy that. I enjoy my bit of downtime then when I get to watch a few series on Netflix or watch a few of Shane's podcasts or wherever they are. But they're usually good to go to sleep at in the evening or anything, But no, I enjoy my time out there. And I think again, if you have a plan when you go out there, that okay, I'm going to use this to benefit. I'm going to maybe get fit, or I'm going to. Some people use it to learn a language while they're out there. Bit of downtime. Some people actually do online courses and different things, so when they're not on patrol or they're not doing their job, they do these things. So I really enjoy it, but again, different people have different strains. Whatever you have going on at home can also affect when you're out there in terms of your mindset. It can be tough. If there's stuff going on at home, it's a tough place to be. Thankfully, I'm in a fortunate position that everything's good. I'm looking forward to going, and so from that point of view, I'm not worried about being stressed out there or being under pressure really.
You will hurl a bit out there as well. There'll be a few fellas that will hurl out there.
Yeah, Richie Reid is going. Aidan McCormick at Hurlist is going as well. And generally, you see fellas will be on the trip that play high standards at their own club as well. So what you'll find is in the first week, lads will be sussing themselves out. A message will go out, look, we're going to go training. There's a small AstroTurf pitch out there, and lads will meet up of a Saturday or Sunday and we'll do a small session. And so it's really just an outlet where lads can go and have a few pucks and get a few digs at each other really. But that'll happen, and then if you want to do your extra bit, players will find their own way of, okay, I want to do a proper skill session here and get the ball flying around, and you'll make it work if you really want to.
Would you would you tune into the Kilkenny games at home now during the league, or?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. What was actually gas was one of the fellas out there at the time. Had figured out mob draw, so I wouldn't be great with any of these. So he figured it out, and a few of the boys were tip, and there was a few Limerick lads and Clare, and you'll always have that. We have a lot of Wexford lads and Cork lads going this time, so you'll always have, word will get around. This fella has it on his mobile, and he's going to Chromecast it onto a television somewhere, and a heap of lads will be huddled around, and lads will be hitting each other digs and stuff, and so it's good crack from that point of view. And then sure, lads will be asking you as well, when Kilkenny matches will be going on, they'll be asking you about, what's this like or what's that like. So look, you actually find I found myself getting nervous watching matches because you're still in that buzz of what the boys are doing, and I suppose the mindset of going into a match. Of course I'll watch them. You'll have the matches penned off that when they're going to be on, if it's a Saturday evening match or a Sunday match, that you have a bit of free time to watch it, because as much as anyone you're a supporter, as much as anything, as much as a player. So
Are you a good spectator when you're more or less helpless out there in terms of what's happening on the pitch?
Yeah, no, I'm actually a very bad spectator now, to be honest. It's like what I would say is it's like when a player's on the bench. You feel like you want to get out there and play. So very much when you're watching it, you feel like you're on the bench, that you can't get onto the pitch. I don't find it great. I thought that, okay, I'm not going to be involved in matches, there'd be no morning nerves, but I found the morning of that I knew there was a league match on or whatever, that I actually found I had those nerves were there. It's like my body knew I was going to play a match, but not a great spectator, but I have to watch it because I want to see what's happening, I want to see how the lads are going, really.
See what fella's trying to take your place.
That's it, yeah. I suppose you would be kind of keeping an eye on that, but one thing I did find was like Joey Holden played quite a bit there the last time I was away. But I actually, and I can genuinely say that I felt I really wanted to see lads do well, because I know what it's like to be in that position and, let's say, to have an off day. And look, I was 20 years old, 21 years old, thrown into that position. I wouldn't wish any fella not to have a good game. You're obviously hoping you can come back and somewhere slot in there, but if a fella while you're away gets in there, you're only wishing him the best of luck, because look, at the end of the day, I want to see Kilkenny do well.
You're obviously a bit more established heading away this time, but the first time you were heading away, were you talking to Larky or Colin Fennelly or even Brian Cody about it, that assurances that you head away, you're not going to be dropped completely? Or
no, I don't think you really bring it up, because obviously Brian is very understanding, and he knows, he's actually very positive about you heading away. He knows it's a good opportunity for you. He knows it's something you have to do as part of work. But look, if you're being honest, it's not right to bring up those things in terms of, is there a place for me? There's no place for anyone on a team. When we start off this year now, whether you're Richie Hogan or you're Killian Buckley or whoever you are, nobody has a place, and that's an attitude that we would always have. So pointless in me asking, is there a place for me to come back? There's a place if I work hard enough, and there's a place if I show that I'm hurling well. There's a small enough window, I suppose, for me to come back and get into the team. But I'll be happy to perform as part of as a sub on a panel, whatever it is, as long as the best team is going out in each day. And if the best team means that I manage to get back in my place, brilliant. But the best team has to play, really.
what dates are you gone for?
Well, I'm gone, so I'll be going Monday week, and there's no set date for when we'll be returning, but it'll be early May when we'll be returning. So obviously the Dublin match is on the 8th or 9th of May next year, which will be close enough. Again, that's just the nature of it. We're not professional. It's going to be tight. But the way I kind of see it is, if you had a player injured for the league and he was coming back just in time for the championship, very similar, except we're coming back in the scenario that we'll be fully fit and we're ready to go. It's just a matter of how the boys see us in terms of hurling wise. Are we ready to go, really?
When you're coming back after missing the league, you obviously don't have long to hit the ground running. Do you find that yourself with your training that you're ramping it up as the championship comes closer when you're over there?
Well, you're trying to really stay in touch with the strength and conditioning staff. Always kind of say, look, it's very easy when you're out there to get up and try on the runners and go for a run or go to the gym. But if that's counterproductive, you kind of have to hold yourself back, and that's nearly a skill in itself. So the strength and conditioning fellas will say, look, once you're training in the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, once you do running Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and rest Sunday. And if you're there on Sunday and you're going, God, I want to go out here and play a game of soccer, or I want to go out and run, if they have told you not to do it, you have to restrain yourself and hold back. And that's as much of a skill as pushing yourself to get into the gym in the first place. So really, they have everything structured. I'm not deciding at all what I have to do while I'm out there. And I just have to follow their advice. So I'm not ramping anything up. It's up to them. I'm trying to mirror really what Kilkenny are doing back in Ireland. I'm trying to mirror that, and Richie Reid will be doing the same in Lebanon. And hopefully what you're hoping is that when you step off the plane coming back, you just slot in and you're exactly the same, fitness, agility, everything. So that's really what you're trying to do. I'm not trying to do anything different than the lads are doing, really.
DJ and Martin Comfort brought into the setup. It's exciting additions.
Yeah, of course. I was only saying to the lads earlier that, if you told me when I was younger that the likes of you'd be coached by DJ or Martin Comfort or any of these, it's a dream come true. So to listen to these lads coming into the dressing room and giving their bit of advice or giving you a word, you could do this or you could do that. It's going to be brilliant, and we've been very lucky over the last few years to have the likes of Derek Ling, Michael Dempsey, and all these lads, James McGarry. We've had great advice in the dressing room, and I suppose fellas who've been there before and done it. So no better men than DJ Carey and Martin Comfort to step into there.
You would have had an overlap with Martin Comfort when you were about in the squad. What was he like as a player? Did he look like a selector material kind of way? Or?
Yeah, I would have been on a training panel more so when Martin was there. So he's a shrewd operator really, as in, he has a great eye for these things as well. Now, I've never come across him in a managerial capacity or anything like that, but Martin was always a fella. You could tell that he was watching the game pan out and he was understanding. He understands the game very well. I think what stands to him is he's still hurling with the club, which just shows to go that okay, maybe the legs mightn't be as sharp as they were, but because he's able to read the game so well, he's able to get around the pitch brilliant. So I'm sure that transfers into being a selector very well. And like we said, he'll have those few nuggets for you, that words of wisdom that'll surely get you by.
Brian does seem to like to change up the backroom team every few years. Like, is that beneficial, do you find?
Yeah, look, in any of these things, I think it's important to look at the positives. And the positives is it's always great to have, I suppose, a fresh voice in the dressing room, really. It's refreshing for players to hear something new. And, it's also a good aspect that someone who's been sitting in the stands for the last years has been looking at maybe a different game. Maybe has been looking at, you're looking at players only on match day, not in training. So you have no bias towards any players, really. So when you come in, when you speak, especially again the likes of DJ Carey, if DJ Carey talks, any player in the dressing room will listen, and it's refreshing to hear. Okay, here's, I suppose, a new voice in the dressing room. Here's a fellow who's one of the greatest players of all time. That's really invigorating for a player to have as well. But that's not to say that if James McGarry, if Derek Ling wasn't there again this year, that you'd be going, God, I'm listening to Derek. He was absolutely brilliant when he was in the dressing room. But yeah, new voices are brilliant, and it's refreshing to have as well.
Brian give his selectors and coaches a lot of responsibility on the training field and stuff like that?
Yeah, like Brian respects the strength and conditioning staff. He respects the selectors. If we're doing running or whatever it is physically, Brian leaves that to the strength and conditioning lads, and he's there to drive you on. But he very much respects the boundaries that the strength and conditioning lads are the strength and conditioning lads. They're the professionals. They're the lads that are there to do their job. So he lets them do it. Again, the selectors are there because they're watching from the sideline, and often Brian will pull them in and say, listen, Derek saw something there on the sideline. Derek, what did you think? And Derek says something, and he's after seeing something from the sideline that you can't see on the pitch. So Brian, they're there for a reason. He uses them very well, and I suppose he uses them to a very positive means during training, really.